That's right. It's Monday night. CP3, live from the lab, Sports on the Hill podcast, True Radio Network, episode 207, coming to you live. Victory Monday, four victories in a row for the Washington football team. Another game that I said they were going to win. We already talked about me predicting the Pittsburgh game last week, but I'm not going to harp on that. But they had another, I'm not going to say impressive victory, but I have to because it was such a strong defensive effort. And I know Dujanay should probably be tuning in shortly. So we'll definitely be breaking that down because you know how much we love to talk about defense. And I got Robbie G already on here. You know, we're going to talk about a little bit of NBA preseason because I see they did already started getting their stuff together. And then we're going to talk some boxing in the last half hour, I guess, of the show, depending on how long we go. Paul, the boxing guy, should be available tonight, so we want to recap some of the past boxing matches and the upcoming boxing matches that's about to go down. Robbie, how are you doing today, good sir?
I'm doing okay. I just the text got wonky on my share, so I was just trying to fix that, but it's super long, so I'm gonna have to do that on the fly right now. But yeah, I mean everything's good. We got the big victory Monday, so that's really awesome. And yeah, I'm excited to talk about the NBA. We're gonna break down the big trade, and sorry, we already broke that down last week, but we're going to break down sort of the fallout from it. And then we'll also talk about the big debut from our young superstar. He had a good game. And yeah, just some boxing stuff to talk about. But I'm so excited that we were able to win four in a row. I thought that there would be maybe an emotional letdown. But turns out that they really performed well. So yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was definitely. I haven't got a chance to watch the whole game yet. I was working. I saw the most of the second half, but I didn't see the first half. I was listening to it, but yeah, I was impressed with the defense, the way they played, the way they were all over the place, causing turnovers, two touchdowns by two rookies. I mean, Chase Young, his stat line was ridiculous what he did in the game. And for folks that's tuning in, if you're having trouble with the levels, let me know because I'm tweaking some things over here. So if it's not coming through clear, not coming through loud enough, please let me know on the Facebook Live feed or the YouTube feed or the Periscope feed because you know we're streaming on all three. But definitely it was a outstanding performance by the defense. Offense, oh, I definitely got some things to talk about with Mr. Dwayne Haskins. We're going to break down, and I want to know Dujanay's opinion after I, say what I have to say. Is Dujanay came on? Yeah, Robbie.
Yeah, he's on, so he can join us whenever he would like to, and we'll get the ball rolling. I was able to fix part of the glitch. I'm still working on the other part of it.
All right,
Um,
my brother. Oh, you don't have a background. I was so looking forward to seeing the breakdown background in the back. I'm used to seeing it, man. I love that view. What's going on, brother?
we're still muted for somehow,
Make sure you off mute, Dujanay.
but it says it's not muted on the. It's the same thing that happened last time.
It's all good. Got you.
Oh, here we go. Good to go. Good to go. What's going on, my brother? How you doing tonight?
Everything's good, man. Everything's good. Staying busy in the studio.
Hey, brother, hey, that's all we do. I did a 2.5 hour show last night. Went to work for like 10 hours, and then I'm about to do probably another 2 hour show tonight, messing with y'all. But hey, I do it because I love it. This game was interesting because we've always talked. Well, I know I've talked about. We've talked about offline, not really on air. How I would love to see a defense dominate dominated game, and the defense dictates the pace, forces turnovers, and actually scores. And I got all of that wrapped in one in yesterday. And the fact that Cameron Curl, someone who we broke down extensively because of your first hand knowledge of seeing this young man play, telling us his potential. And then once you gave me the insight, I went and did some research, and I came to the same conclusion. And to see this young man step up like he did yesterday, starting from where he came from, limited snaps. Landon Collins went down, it was putting him more in the box. his first game started, he got exposed because they was, aiming for him, trying to confuse him, which they did. And just to see the maturation in those few weeks and to see him play the game that he had yesterday. And then Chase Young, I mean, I don't even have the words to say what that young man did yesterday. What was your initial take of what you saw yesterday from this Washington football team?
If you're familiar with Jack Del Rio and what he does, especially what he did in Jacksonville, and pretty much everywhere he's been, their defenses have been aggressive, and you're really starting to see this defense really start to adapt to what he does. They're understanding what he wants out of them. To see Chase Young continue to elevate his level of play as he's grown throughout the season is pretty much what I expected from him. If you watch his college days, I think it's a no-brainer here. I think you're seeing a lot of what he showed on the college field, translating here to the NFL, and he's just relentless. And you see how his play is helping everyone else. Deron Payne, his aggressiveness up front, Kerrigan being a part of all of that is being applied as far as the pressure on the quarterback. And then you talk about Curl being able to make the plays that he's been able to make. He's really making a name for himself. It's really awesome to see him grow week after week. In another game where he makes a lot of big plays for this defense. And of course, like I've said before, when you have the pressure that they were applying in this game on the quarterback, and they've been applying as of late, it makes those secondary guys a lot easier. You don't need top tier guys in the secondary. I'm really tired of people worrying about having these big time guys in the secondary. Just have some guys that understand where they need to be, have a little bit of speed, and understand some technique abilities to be able to manipulate some things when it comes down to them covering the offensive opponent. And with the front seven playing the way that they are, man, you're starting to see a maturation of a defense that really has the ability to be a consistent top 10 defense year after year. So it was really exciting to see the defense play, the way that they did. It continued to grow in another week. This team growing is pretty awesome, and fans should be excited.
Definitely. Let's talk about that front seven. I mean, we saw last week that they went straight full-man rush, not too many blitzes. But this week we saw this defensive line dominate. I mean, Deron Payne, Allen, Kerrigan got in there when he got his snaps. You saw him getting pressure. Chase Young wreaking havoc, recovering fumbles and running, what was that, 50-yard recovery. They said he was like running 18 miles an hour for a defensive line. Like, who's going to get in that man's way with the ball in his hand? And then Cameron Curl making that play. And you told me, he was a cornerback, converted to safety. You saw that quarterback speed. He reminded me a little bit of Deion the way he took off. He saw the end zone. He knew he was going to get there. And that front seven and the linebackers, I want to go back a couple of weeks ago when Coach called out the linebackers saying that they weren't playing aggressive enough. They weren't, going downhill enough. They weren't attacking the hole like they were supposed to. And we've seen them take that as a challenge, especially with Coach being an ex-linebacker. You know how serious he is about that. So it's just the fact that we're seeing accountability. We're seeing, the coach being critical, but not in a way to make himself look good and make the players look bad as we've seen in the previous regime. And you see the players responding to those challenges and not anonymous sources or such and such is upset about what coach said, this and this. You're seeing the growth from the team on the field and on the scoreboard and in the win and loss column. So what do you attribute that to? Is it more the team identifying an identity for itself and taking after its coach? Or is it that the players have the utmost respect for this coach and want to play their heart out for him because they know it's either his way or the highway?
I think it's a little bit of everything. It's attitude from guys like Chase Young taking a leadership position. It's not a forced thing with him. This is who he is. He feels comfortable, going up and down the sideline. It's a team mentality. cheering on their teammates, lifting them up, keeping them motivated. And I think you see Chase Young doing a lot of that as well. It's also understanding what coach expects. Both of them, from Ron Rivera to Jack Del Rio, understanding what they expect, knowing that they're going to hear about it if they make mistakes. It's not a negative thing, but there's a level of expectation. There's a level of excellence that is expected from this team. There's no excuses being made, and they're adapting to that. And you saw it early, the early touchdown there. I know people are like, oh boy, I don't know if they're going to be able to pull it off. And then they just seem to be like, okay, you guys got this one, but no more. We're not going to put up with this all day. And they get aggressive, they get nasty, and they start dictating to the offense. Everybody wants to talk about Pittsburgh, and maybe they didn't get as much pressure as they did in this game, but you have to consider their offensive line that they were going up against. That's a perennial offensive line in Pittsburgh, and look at what they were able to do. And then you come, and here's a team that is, they have some injuries just like everybody else. And for once, this team came in and dictated how things were going to go in this football game on the defensive side of the ball, and really took it to them the entire football game. Years past, this team had the tendency to play down to their opponent. This game, though, again, give 49ers credit. They're very well coached, and they're very well coached and disciplined, but Washington played a better ball game and was the better team on Sunday. And really, when you look at it and break it down, they definitely are the better team, especially over the last several games. They're on a 4-game winning streak, and you can see the growth there. They dictated the ball game and made things happen. So I think it's just a combination of a lot of things. You got to accept a little bit of everything, but most importantly, these guys on the football field are accepting responsibility, taking responsibility, and they don't want that to be on them, any negative to be on them. And if it is, they take it personal and they make sure that they correct it for the next week. And I think that's what's important when you're looking at this young football team.
Real quickly, I just wanted to break in. I love some of your analysis. I've been a huge fan of Chase Young from before we drafted him. I like the pick. I know that it took some time to mature. We talked about how he was pulling all those double teams before, but I was so impressed with his all-around play, just being able to punch stuff up, scoop it up, the run, his athleticism on that run with, after he took it and he just took it to the house. We haven't seen electrifying playmaking. It just kind of reminds me a little like Sean Taylor, when you just know that a guy is just incredible at his position. And I'm just so excited. I mean, the ceiling, right? I mean, this guy is just a couple of games in. He's starting to feel himself, and he's getting rewarded now for his, great effort. And I just love his inner motor, and it's really incredible to watch.
And it's pretty amazing how his play is rubbing off on everybody else. I mean, the Daron Paynes, the Jonathan Allens up front. This is without a Matt Ioannidis out there. The Tim Settles, those guys are balling. His ability to really have an offensive game plan, have to dictate to know where he is at all times. Now you're having to pick your poison because you still have to worry about a Ryan Kerrigan. You still have to worry about those other linebackers, and then you have to worry about all those other guys along the front. So there's no one guy that you can key on. So eventually, at some point, this guy's going to get his. He's one heck of an athletic specimen, kind of along the lines of the Chicago Bears linebacker. Can't think of his name now. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank, but yes. And so that stuff's important. That stuff's important. It's not just about one guy. And you're right, Robbie. He's really starting to come into his own, and you're really starting to see the confidence that he has in himself. Now he has the confidence of knowing what he's doing. But earlier, hey, they were just he's out there drawing double teams, and other guys got to eat. Now he's eating as well. So it's awesome because everybody now has to be accounted for. And unfortunately, with this defense, when they're on, it's very, very hard to just single out one guy. You're going to have to pick your poison and, hope for the best. And that hasn't been for the best for the opposing team.
Yeah, that was exactly it. For me, it's like he was playing those double teams so early on, which was really impressive to me. And I was like, they really believe in this guy. But then other people really started to get going themselves. And they were like, oh, we just can't leave everybody else. They just kind of thought, hey, we'll just key into him. They couldn't do that. And now they're trying to strike a balance, but they're struggling. And and that's really sort of the philosophy is starting to bloom.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to something you said, Dujanay, about the injury factor. And, like you said, everybody has injury. But have you noticed the trend lately with how physical this defense is? Folks are getting hurt in the first half against this team because they're playing so physical. And by the time the fourth quarter gets there, they're just imposing their will and being so physical with the other team. And I don't remember the last time I've seen our defensive line be that aggressive and impose their will on a weekly basis like this. I'm trying to remember a defense that was this nasty. And all I can think back is to the 92 Super Bowl team defense.
Right. You're right about that. Hasn't been this consistent for longer durations. You had spots with a lot of these other teams, and you've had guys who have made plays. But yes, collectively like this, it's been a long time, man. But it's pretty awesome to watch. And again, knowing, having a pretty big history on Jack Del Rio, him being here with the Jags, and in the places that he's been, huge fan of that guy. And you can see the attitude, both guys. I mean, Rivera, Del Rio, this is why this combination is here. And you can really see these guys taking on that attitude. And it's more than just talk. It seems like that's something that they not only show in games, it's a habit. This is what they do. And they bring that to the game. So it's not something you just go and turn on. This is something that's practiced throughout the week. It's preached. It sinks in and it becomes a way of life. And they're showing that in this stretch here.
True that. Now we've been praising the defense. Now we got to talk about the elephant in the room, the offense. Just looking at some of these numbers, I'm going to go over the stats real quick. Alex Smith, 8 for 19, 57 yards, no touchdowns, interception, 27.7 quarterback rating. We all know he went out with calf soreness. Still pending to see what that want to do for next week's game. Haskins came in and went 7 for 12, 51 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, 68.7 quarterback rating. J.D. McClissick had a decent game. He had 11 rushes, 68 yards, 6.2 yard average. Logan Thomas excelling again with Terry McLaurin being doubled. Somebody has to pick up the slack, and he's definitely been stepping up. He had 6 catches for 43 yards and a 7.2 yard average. First downs, they had 12 for the game. They were 3 for 15 on third down. They had 98 yards rushing, 95 yards passing for a total of 193 yards. They had 4 sacks, 5 penalties for 30 yards. Time of possession, they had the ball for 27 minutes. San Fran had it for 32. San Fran has a quality defense, so I'm not really that upset about what I saw from Alex. I'm more upset about what I saw from Haskins. That almost interception in crunch time when the ball sailed with his bad footwork, throwing flat-footed once again, and almost interception at a crucial time in the game in your own side of the field. To me, that says that I don't know if he's been putting in the work to correct those things being on the bench and the sideline for 7 to 8 weeks now. And I want to know what your take is on that. I mean, Coach gave an encouraging word, which for all the folks that said that he hating on him, he doesn't want him here, he could have, in my opinion, he could have fried him for some of the things I saw when he got into the game.
Could he?
The upper hand, the encouragement to try to keep him going. That's my opinion. Dujanay, what do you say?
I'm going to go with the fact that, we give other quarterbacks the benefit of the doubt. You got to understand this kid went from 1 to 3, and you're not working with much of anyone. Now he's 2, but Alex is getting all the reps here. He is the starter, the bona fide starter. So you're not working with these guys. And then you come in, you don't really have a rapport with a lot of the guys that, especially 3 of these wide receivers that are in. You haven't thrown to these guys in weeks. So I'm gonna go with there's some rust there. Again, he's a young quarterback. Sure, the footwork. I'm not saying he's not putting in the work, but old habits die hard, and those are some old habits. So, I'm not gonna, come down on him for that. I thought Ron did a good job in assessing his, his play. I will say this though, I'm sick and tired of them putting in Haskins, knowing dang well that he is not Alex Smith. So why are you running the same plays that you're gonna run with Haskins, and he been the second string quarterback and ain't worked with none of these guys that are in the game right now, and you got the game on the line. Do what he does best. You see, if you really want a man to succeed, you put him in the best position to win. And I understand you want him to grow. You want him to do the things that you want him to do within your offense, right? I get it. But he's not starting. So therefore, you need to have a package of plays just in case this boy comes in here and has to play for whatever reason it may be. Once again, we come in here running plays like Alex Smith is in the game. We know what the experience of this guy is. We know experience of Haskins is. We know what his deficiencies are. Then don't allow him to be in positions that his deficiencies become exposed. Okay, and I'll even go to the fact, even back further. Scott Turner, Alex Smith was struggling. Tell me what the hell were you doing to try to help him? All right, because I'm not cool with throwing screens at most ill-advised times when you should be pounding and punching people in the face offensively. And then you wonder why you're behind the sticks, and now you're expecting Alex Smith to pull some magical play out of his backside to save you from your idiotic crap play calling. Okay? Now, if you want to help your offense, make plays and call plays that can help them and are going to succeed and going to help them move and shorten the chains, not do stuff that's going to have things going backwards. And as far as Haskins, you know what he can and can't do. All right, as you as an offensive coordinator need to start tailoring the game to what he does best. If you come out here and he has to start next week and you start running plays that Alex Smith is running and you're not doing the things that he does well, that's on you. I'm not blaming Haskins anymore. This guy is working his butt off. Plenty of people have said it, but as soon as he does something bad, it's funny. I listened to the press conference. A lot of questions from the media. I mean, what kind of dumb questions is that?
I haven't got a chance to check out the post game, but not to cut you off because you've said a lot. But I want to go back to what you're saying about him not getting, the reps being a 2 coming from a 3. The mechanics, my man Fred was echoing the same thing on the feed. The mechanics and the footwork, you can work on that without receivers, and that's what I'm saying with. Even though he was, rusty, even though he hadn't gotten reps, those are things that he should be working on now that you will see at least transfer to the game. It might not make a game-winning drive where he saved the day, but you want to see the progression from what he should have been learning the time that he's been on the bench. That's my thing that I ain't gonna say make excuses, but I've understood why he has the footwork and mechanical issues, the ball sales, and that's where his interception come from. I understand that. But with all of these weeks on the sideline, he can work on those things without having somebody to throw to. And I was hoping I would see that in this game, that he wouldn't still make those same mistakes.
Now, let me say this, and point duly noted. But I said earlier, old habits die hard. Now, here's another factor. This boy's confidence is a little wavery right now. The only thing he's trying to do, and you could see it in you can see it in the press conference, you can hear it in his voice. He sounded like he teared up towards the end. Only thing he was trying not to do was not screw this up. And with all the pressure that he has on him to perform and look well, if he messes this up and they lose, he gonna catch a whole lot of heat. So he's trying not to make the mistakes.
He's playing not to lose and not playing to win. I feel you.
Right. If you're out there and you're not confident and you're very concerned not messing this up for your quarterback who had to go out, who put you in this position along with your defense, who put you in this position to win, and all you have to do is seal this game, you are really trying not to make any mistakes. And sometimes in those pressure moments, the old habits die hard and they come back. We see it with all these young quarterbacks. So stop harping on Haskins, because I see it in a lot of quarterbacks across the league that are young in these tough situations. Go look at Taysom Hill and that garbage that he threw and that interception of 2 turnovers that cost him the game. So, you know, I get it. I understand what he's supposed to be working on, but I'm telling you, in a pressure situation, when you got the game on the line and you got to come in and all they're asking you to do is not screw this up. That's what you're trying not to do. And the pressure is on. Sometimes you revert back to old habits. Mechanics fail. You're not comfortable. And again, what plays did they give him to make him comfortable in the pocket? Because I tell you, there wasn't very much of any. Stop running offense like it's Alex Smith back there and do what that boy does well. If you want to win and you want him to be decent, then do just that. Otherwise, don't put him in the game. Put Montez in.
Yeah, I think Turner, like I said, Turner's still learning on the job also, and he's definitely a better play caller when he has a lead. Things got a little tight. He doesn't have the same confidence in Haskins that he has in Smith. And like you said, he should have told it. That's why I never understood that Haskins is best when he's on the rollout. And we've seen it when they do allow that to happen, that he excels. And that's why I always, even before, you know, Scott Turner under, you know, Jay when he got in there. I'm like, you see what happens when you move the pocket for the young man. It helps him. He's more accurate. He can read the defense better because of the misdirection, gives him more time, and he played better. So I definitely agree with you on that. Like I said, I don't want to seem like I'm being super critical because I still believe he can be the quarterback this team wants him to be. But as you said, with the pressure, and that's why I always question with somebody coming home and being a fan of the team, how would that, you know, play out? And sometimes it doesn't play out in the right way. And if that's what it is, I don't know how he's going to overcome that.
Right. And you're right about that. I mean, this is a telling moment for him. And if he has to play next week, it's a telling moment. But, you know, I think my thing is, me knowing Washington fans as long as I have, from fandom to media side, the go-to is to blame the quarterback. But I'm more knowledgeable than that to stand back and look, okay, yes, there are things he is not doing well, and I'm not making any excuses. But dadgummit, you tell me, what is your coaches doing to help him? Because see, good coaches understand that a quarterback can't do certain things. Did the Eagles have Jalen Hurts out there doing what Carson Wentz does? I don't think so, because that's not what Jalen Hurts does. So why are you having Dwayne do what Alex is doing? Like you said, move the pocket, allow him to get comfortable. Now, if he got comfortable early and you give him a couple easy throws, you know, outside the pocket, cool. Then he might settle in. But we have to wait and see. Maybe he never settles in, and these mistakes are always there. Maybe it's in his head, because this is being home, being in Washington, with all that's on him, all that's been said, all that he's been through is weighing heavy on him. Maybe it's just a change of scenery. And maybe he never works out and pans out to be a starting quarterback in this league. But when he comes in for somebody else, knowing he ain't had no practice, but if this was anybody else, we making 1,001 excuses of, well, he hadn't had to work with the ones and all this. But it's Haskins, and Washington football team fans want to come in and throw rocks and bricks and everything else at this guy like this is his problem. Sure, he made some mistakes, and there's some things that he should be correcting, but have to consider everything. And I'm sorry, Scott Turner isn't doing a good enough job in putting that quarterback in position to do the right things and to be comfortable. That's what coaches do. get their guys comfortable so they can start opening up and doing some little things and testing some different things to see if they can do it and execute it well as they've practiced on the practice field.
Real quickly, though, I just want to speak to the fans' point of view because I was kind of in the fans' boat yesterday. I was not happy with what I was seeing from him, and I was like, oh, God, it's going to all fall apart. And the defense just kept on bailing him out and balling out of control to the point where it's like – and he didn't make mistakes. He didn't turn the ball over, and that's what you needed to do, and he did the bare minimum. But from the optics of seeing Alex Smith with a bum leg seem to be doing better than him, just visually – and – yeah. And it turns out that, he was, I think, maybe more hurt than we thought in the beginning. So, and I was like, so the original optics was he was like, oh, Alex Smith isn't that hurt. And here is an opportunity for Dwayne to really sort of seize control. And he didn't really seize that. And it was kind of hard at moments to watch, right? Because they were doing a lot of the safe things and they were being sniffed out and a lot of these run and draw plays that were kind of just obvious. And, they had to do a little bit more misdirection and have a little bit more creative play calling, but it was hard because it was just like, this isn't, what we want to see. This is, this was supposed to be his moment to seize the team. And it wasn't that.
Yeah. Honestly, it's kind of unfair to Scott Turner. Doug Peterson is a hell of a play caller. So I'm not trying to give Turner a pass, but Peterson he's up to me. He's in the top 5 as offensive play callers in the league. He has great strategy. He will exploit any weakness that you give him, and he knows how to call the game and cater the game to his quarterback. So, yeah, Jalen Hurts, I got a feeling that last game of the season is going to be an interesting game between the Washington football team and the Eagles.
Yeah, and it's just an example. I mean, look at the quarterbacks. Look at the young quarterbacks in Denver. Any young quarterback with a quality coach, these guys make sure that their offensive game plan works best for what they do. They don't have Taysom Hill running around doing Drew Brees type stuff. That's not Taysom Hill's game. Now, that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. But as you can see, good coaches make sure that their quarterback, no matter who it is playing and has a game plan that fits what they do best. That's coaching one-on-one. I don't give a crap who you are. Anybody with competence that coaches knows that. If you're not doing that, then you're losing a lot. You're an Adam Gase.
No, please don't wish that on us, man. I don't know. No. I think Turner's still learning on the job. I mean, he still has to learn. He only had limited, time off as a coordinator in Carolina. This is his first promotion. And you got two coaches that's more defensive orientated than offensive in Rivera and Del Rio. So
I believe
you can bring somebody in as more of a mentor for him to help him find his way, in my opinion.
Right. And I believe in him. I'm not saying that he's not that. All I'm just saying is all this piling on Dwayne is a little much, and it's getting kind of old. Y'all gonna have to find a line. Fans gonna have to find another line. And what I want to see this week, though, if he ends up starting, he's got a full week practice. Now, there ain't going to be nothing to hold you back. They should be able to come in and set you up and have a nice little, scripted plays in the first, couple series to get you going. There's no excuses after that. So you either got it or you don't, because, your defense is handing you opportunities. How many opportunities has this team had offensively because of the defense? That hasn't happened in a long time. And even when they do give up some things, they still fight and make sure that they don't do that repeatedly over and over and over and over again. So I'm really interested to see what happens. I hope Alex plays because his team's on a nice roll, got a nice rhythm. But if Haskins has to come in, I think he can get it done, but they're going to have to get him comfortable and do the things that he does best. Roll in the pocket, getting him outside of the pocket, allow him to make a couple easy throws, and then we can start utilizing those things and his mobility to get guys. It really plays well to the guys like Cam Sims, Terry McLaurin, all those guys that they have that shifty ability to do those types of crossing routes, those drag routes and things like that, to take and break and get that yak that they've been getting all season long. So It's just a matter of getting the quarterback comfortable. And if they can do that, full week of practice, if that's what's going to end up happening, we'll see. And if he doesn't get it done then you guys are more than welcome to pile on.
Well, see, I don't really consider it me piling because, like I said, this is only really the first time I've spoke out, about him because I know he needs time. I know he's raw, but I was hoping, like I say, when that ball sailed and was almost an interception, I was like, damn it, because I had to go back and look at it, so it hit the ground. But I was like, and I looked at his footwork. He threw the ball flat-footed. He didn't step into it. He didn't follow through, and he had a clean pocket.
Clean.
That's why I was like, that's why it blew me because I was like, I understand he's under pressure and you were rushing, but this is muscle memory. This is rhythm. This is mechanics. This is what you should have been practicing on the sideline. And then to see that ball sail and almost get picked off and change the whole momentum of the game of him, like you said, you have a valid point of him playing not to lose instead of playing to win. And I think that's where his mindset is right now with all the stuff that's happened, especially in the media, especially on social media. I get it. But at the end of the day, he has to remember he's a quarterback. He's going to blame when they lose. He's going to get the praise when they win. So hopefully that clicks and he can separate from the hometown Redskin, Washington football team fan. Damn it, I slipped up. And can take that next step. That's all I want to see because I feel he has the potential to be that and do that. I just want to see it. I know it's limited reps. I know he, didn't have chemistry with any of the wide receivers. He doesn't get with the first team, but just the fact of the mechanics and the throwing motion and the follow through, I was hoping that, we wouldn't see that pop back up. But, like I said, the pressure, as I say, I can see the point. That's why I always go to you because you always have a different perspective.
I've changed my perspective for 100% the same reason. I felt very differently yesterday after it than I do now, and that's why I'm happy that we have you on.
You've actually given me a different perspective because that's why I like to talk to you because sometimes, Robbie, my emotion does get involved, even though you tell me I don't have any emotion for this team anymore.
Yeah. I'll say this too. It's one thing that I often wonder with him. How and maybe people, fans watching tonight, you ever seen a guy can't take hard criticism and it crushes his confidence, and instead of being able to take that and harness it and use it for fuel to rise to the occasion to improve, it weighs heavy on their heart and they can't seem to shake it, and it doesn't give them the ability to focus on the now. And when they get in a pressure situation, it's almost as if their brain goes, oh no, here we go again. And things start to fail. You ever been in a situation where you're having a bad game, whether it's shooting a basketball or baseball, whatever the case may be, you're not hitting very well. And then so you start to overcompensate for things you think mentally you're doing because you maybe had a couple games of this thing starting to happen where you're not really doing what you are used to doing on a regular basis and being good at it. And I think right now he's had so much failure that he can't, maybe it's not between the ears. Maybe mentally he can't deal with all those negative things or whatever that are going on. And that's not an excuse. Some people just don't have it. Kind of like Tiger for a while there in golf, where too many things was going on, didn't have it between the ears and couldn't play. Guys sometimes just are like that. I even use Johnny Manziel as an example. He just, has all the ability in the world. And you think, man, if this guy can just get it together, but he doesn't have it here, doesn't have the mental fortitude to be able to, when a mistake maybe almost happens or does happen, to wipe it clean. It weighs heavy on their heart and they take it so personal that it destroys the rest of the game. I mean, I think if anybody golfs and gets ticked off because they have a bad golf game, it just gets worse from there, right? You have one bad hole and it gets worse from there. And I think that's what this is. And maybe he just doesn't have it here.
I hope he's not another Johnny Manziel, because for me, like, I got to see him at A&M. My wife is an Aggie. I got to go to a game, and I made sure to get down there when he was something special, right? And you just had all these dreams. I'm like, wow, he scored 4 touchdowns in the first half, and I was just like, and yeah, it was against, I think it was Auburn, or no, it was against Vanderbilt. But it doesn't matter. Like, you could see it. He was magic, right? But then he just doesn't, at the next level, he just didn't, it wasn't there. And it's just, and this is a lot of the same player. That's what I get worried about, because he was incredible, for that one season in college, but we just don't know if he's going to make that jump.
Right. Some guys got it and some guys don't. And some guys can't handle, again, a kind of another Griffin situation where he was kind of thrusted, he was brought in, not cared for, not handled very well. And then, maybe it wasn't the right thing to start him in the beginning, but Ron thought he just wanted to see, and didn't go very well. As you can see, he didn't take it very well, but he had some maturing to do as well. He admitted that in the press conference a little bit. Didn't want to really get into a lot of things. He just wanted to focus on the fact that he was happy to have the opportunity to be out there and to help the team complete the victory and not mess it up. And he was able to do that. And he was just thankful to be back out on the field again. So hopefully it can lift his spirits and he can get past this. But like I said, maybe it's not the ability. Maybe it's just what's in between the ears and what's here. And mental fortitude is a big deal in sports. And if you can't get confidence and gain confidence, or you're always thinking what the next bad thing is going to happen to me, or what's going to be said about me, maybe this isn't the job for you, and it may be just too much for him. And maybe it's a change of scenery. I don't know, but I really hope the best for him. I want him to succeed. I think he's a great quarterback, but I think it's more to it than just, the mental game is a lot. And that's where, when your mentals aren't right, your old mechanics and your old bad habits start to come out when the pressure is on. That's not an excuse, but that's just the nature of sports. We see it across different sports, that it happens to guys where, sometimes they just don't have it to handle the pressure that's needed. And like Carol stated, it's a lot of pressure being a quarterback. And it's definitely a lot of pressure being a quarterback in Washington, D.C., when they haven't had really a decent quarterback since Mark Rippon.
Well, I hope it's not that, he'll play better elsewhere, because I would love to see him take this team to the next level.
Absolutely.
He has, like you said, he has the potential to be a quality quarterback in this league. I can't say great because we don't know, but he can definitely be quality. And for him to be a quarterback in the limited time he's been quarterback, that's one of the rules you have to learn as a quarterback and as a cornerback, to have a short memory, because you're going to make mistakes.
Absolutely.
Things are going to happen, and you have to know how to shake it off and move on to the next play. So with him being young and being a young quarterback with not that much experience, I can concede that. I'm not really, that's what I say. I love talking to you because you give me a different perspective, because I was going to go in on him, bro. I was going to go in. But you made a lot of points, which I definitely can agree with. So, it is what it is.
All right, I'm sorry. It just, I have to admit, I'm a big Ravens fan too, right? I know we talk about the Washington football team. I'm not supposed to talk about the Ravens on this, but Lamar Jackson, just with his feet, had an incredible touchdown run. He just sat on the pocket and just really, really nice, and had nothing going. And this was like, I'm going to do it myself. And they're right at the end of the half, a huge defensive stop. Got the ball back as Cleveland had stopped the Ravens, and then the Ravens stopped them right back. And just, he's amazing in moments. You don't see that that's there.
Andrews on that play too.
In the red zone.
Yeah.
Why are you sitting in zone in the red zone?
I don't know, because it was a clearly passing play, but it was just all broke down. He was like, "Well, I have the ability."
I'm going to get into fantasy football. I'm only up by 20 points. I can't afford this man scoring rushing touchdowns right
I'm sorry, but I'm happy, and but it had to be. I was hoping something exciting would happen at the end of the first half here, but that was they left just enough time. So
and I took Cleveland in this game, so even though
I also took Cleveland in this game, but
pick them. I just want to brag a little bit. I'm number 415 in the world ranked on ESPN. Pick them right now. If I had some money, I would put it on myself, but I'm broke right now because I'd be calling my bookie right now to put some money on some of these bets. And I just gotta, I feel good about that, especially getting
crushing me.
It's mom, that wasn't cool.
Pretty impressive, I will admit. But at this point, I'm fine just rooting against the team and just assuming that me reverse jinxing and him going with them. It's working. It's worked 4 weeks in a row. I will happily lose this pick'em that we have no money riding on. So
the same thing. I picked against them this week too, and I figured they would win, but I didn't want to chance it. So I just pick against them. I'm used to it. It's what I've always done. So I just kind of go with it.
Right.
We have to think like that. I don't adopt to that logic.
I know you don't, but every time I pick them this season, we've lost. So I'm done. I'm done. I will.
That way too. When I used to put money. Well, I don't bet money anymore. I only bet alcohol or food, because that way I'm gonna get some of it when I give it to whoever lost to. I'm gonna get me a beer. I'm gonna get me a chicken leg or something. Right. But I don't know. I just look at it as more of the coaching. I got to go back to the coaching. I mean, Rivera, like I told you in the beginning, Paul, the boxing guy, he'll be on later. Once we, got him as a coach, Paul was there. He's in Charlotte, so he has firsthand knowledge and seen what coach can do with the Carolina Panthers. So once he signed, Paul was like, bro, that's the best move we could have made. I was a little shaky on it. I did some research, looked at, things he had done for his whole football career. After I saw that, I was like, okay, this is a football guy. He knows what he did. All the folks that's worked with him or played under him have nothing but positive things to say about it. Stand-up guy, none of that, political BS when the media comes around. He's going to tell you no matter what. I love the fact in the press conference last week when they asked him about Antonio Gibson when he first went down, they asked about his toe, he's like, I purposely don't read the medical report until after the press conference so I don't have to answer those questions. Next. I said, that's refreshing. That's cold as ice right there. I love that. But I think
he was very nice about it too. He actually asked for her name and he said, look, sorry, this is what I do because I've played this game too many times. I don't want to have to lie to you or not tell you, and this is what it's going to be. So that way, now it's on record. No one's going to ask next week, right?
Yep. Covering the NFC South, and I said it last week, covering the NFC South, this team really is starting to reminisce Carolina Panthers Ron Rivera team. I'm telling you, I can't express it even. I can't express it anymore. It's eerie, but it's nice to see. This is exactly what I expected. And I thought it was a great hire as well. This is going to be fun, guys. And if the offense starts to come together over the next couple of years, this is going to be fun with Jack and those guys and Ron's attitude, how people really respect this guy. I mean, you can't ask for anything better. I mean, it just really looks like Carolina 2.0. I mean, it's really nice to see, and it really shows. And people crapping on Ron, because of this or that, just don't know football. But yeah, there's a reason why this guy was in Carolina for a long time. The culture, the everything, very well coached teams. When they showed up, they played aggressive on defense, and you see Washington doing that now.
Real quickly, because I wanted to point out, for me, it was interesting. We didn't have that offseason that we needed under Ron Rivera's system to really do this reboot. He had to do it remotely, whatever. If he had those preseason games, we would have taken the chunk. I'm looking at the schedule and what we had all predicted, right? We all had a lot of green early on, a lot of red late, right? Because we thought that the early games were the easier games, and we lost some of those games, including 2 to the Giants and a couple other games that we probably shouldn't have. And it's interesting that we're now coming back on strong in a time period where none of us had wins, right? Like we all thought they were going to lose all these games pretty much. I mean, it's almost everyone had a loss to the Steelers. Only one person had us beating them. Only one person had us beating the Cowboys, and no one had us beating the 49ers. So, I mean, just, and we just nailed through all that in one go and knocked all that plus one right before that. So it'll be really interesting to see what team we see against the Seahawks and the Panthers coming up, because that's going to be the real test. Can they keep that emotional charge going and go through those teams, which now, compared to the teams we just beat, they're very winnable games.
Absolutely. And I said it last week on the show, this fourth quarter of the season is very interesting. I could see 3-1. They stole they stole a game. And they really rose to the occasion and stole that one from Pittsburgh. Now you're looking at, the rest of this season, the only team that could possibly be a problem and a guaranteed loss, if you want to look at it, before we started, the 49ers game, was Seattle. Now, after stealing one from a very formidable team in the Steelers, and they lost a game to a team in the Giants they had no business losing to. Seattle comes to Washington. Big game, and now it feels like they could really win that game. And I don't want to say with ease, but this is a winnable game for them now. I mean, the way that they're playing, this is a winnable game. And then the last 2 games of this season aren't anything that they haven't faced in the last 4. So if they can continue to understand who they are, and what's at stake, and not rest on the morals of what they've done before, and continue to build, continue to grow, could they seriously go 4-0 in the fourth quarter of this season? It is possible. It's not out of the realm of possibility. It's not crazy.
I definitely think they can, because they're getting hot at the right time. They're believing at the same time. They're playing for each other. They see the potential. They know that they didn't have a preseason. With him being a new coach, he would have had an extra week of OTAs if it was a regular season. So as Robbie mentioned, imagine if they would have had those preseason games and the hiccups we saw in the first few weeks of the season in games they should have won. So that's why I was trying to, educate some folks and tell them, this is a unique situation, but look at the growth you're seeing in one season under this coach. And under Jay, it took, in my opinion, 4 years before we saw any type of progress. And some folks tried to argue with me, and I told them, that's another story. But you see it in one season. You see players stepping up. You see players developing. Players, in the later rounds that they draft. And some folks complain, talking about they need to, name a GM. And I'm like, why mess with the formula that's been this successful in the first year? Let it cultivate and see what happens before you want to make change. And that's the one thing about some of the Washington football fans that get on my nerves. I understand it's been 20 plus years of BS, but you have a true football mind that drafted the players that he wanted. Put him in training camp the way that he wanted. Put him on the field the way he wanted. It might not have started out the way that he wanted, but it's trending the way that he saw it going for his team, because he saw the potential. He saw the talent. And when you have a coach that knows how to develop talent and get the best out of his players, the sky's the limit. And if these guys can go out there and make the playoffs, I was talking about this last night at the bar radio. I'm not going to say that they can make a miraculous run because you have an extra wild card, extra round of games to go. But we've seen teams come out of the NFC East as a wild card and shock the world. That's all I'm going to say. Not saying it's going to happen, but watching the Nationals, watching the Capitals. We've seen this story play out before. Not saying it's going to happen, but you see this team coming together under the first year coach. And I believe he deserves coach of the year for that alone, with it being this franchise, how dysfunctional it was, and all of the negative baggage that was around this team. He's been a stand-up guy the whole time. And by the way, fighting cancer at the same damn time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? This dude is just showing how great of a person, man, and coach that he is. And I believe he deserves due credit for what he's done with this organization in this not even a full season under him.
I'm going to hit him and Alex Smith, though, right? Because comeback player of the year. I mean, the merging of those two and those two stories has been really what has lifted us into a new franchise.
I'm going to give you 3 players that people will sit up here and who want to argue with Carroll about whether there was progress under Jay or not. I'm going to give you 3 players that were talked very highly and didn't do diddly squat under Jay Gruden. Troy Apke. People didn't like that guy and often wonder why he was out there on the field. Look at how he's playing now. The Reeves kid. He was sporadic.
Oh my God.
But the sporadic under Jay. Now you see a level of consistency. Okay. And the third guy, you could pick anybody, but I'm going to go with Cam Sims. We've all known he's had that potential. Guys, between Cam and Reeves, they show a lot in practice, but never could translate it to the game for some strange reason. Couldn't translate it to the game. Now, those 3 guys alone are guys that have had to play because of injuries, etc., and are absolute guys that you could depend on. That's just 3. There's plenty more, but I'll leave you with those 3 right there, guys that been under that system for quite some time and were very erratic in their play and were consistent on the practice field, but for some strange reason couldn't translate it to the football field when it was time for the lights to come on and it counted. Now these guys are absolute guys you can count on, put in the game, and they make plays for you. That's the progress that you need, because see, it ain't all about the guys that's starting on the field that coming out the first 11 that come out. It's about the guys behind them that makes this team to be formidable and to be a quality football team. You need all of it, not just the first 11. You need all of it. And now you're starting to see all of it come together, and those pieces start to come together. Think about when they start having next year's draft and free agency, and if we can have a semblance of normalcy on how we go about the offseason like we've done in previous years. Gonna be interesting, ain't it? Very interesting. I like if I'm a fan, I like what I see. And as a guy covering this team, I'm very excited for the future here and what is yet to come and who they are yet to bring in, young guys that are going to come in and be contributing pieces to what's already here. It's going to be real fun.
No doubt, no doubt. We about to bring in DC People's Champ. I'm going to read through some of the comments. You know, I've been getting a lot of comments on the Facebook Live feed. Appreciate it, Fred. Appreciate it, Mark. You can go ahead and bring in DC's People Champ. You can come on in. I know you wanted to chime in before we let Dujanay go. Fred was saying that he agreed to take the Turner play call and isn't the best. He was saying that, but if you can handle the pressure, then, if you can't handle the pressure, then you're going to fold in big situations. That's my echo about that. Quarterback, what's entitled to it, what's entailed in it. Hopefully he can make that transition and be that quarterback that we all think he can be. Mark was saying that he feels like they should definitely have some plays that he's comfortable with in the lineup just in case he gets in. I agree with that. Also, you should always have a backup plan just in case. Mark also says we're going to definitely need some offense next week going against Seattle. We're going to have to possibly spy Russell Wilson because he will run. And Mark, their offensive line is, I'm not going to say they're the best, but they're definitely above average. They protect them well. Russell knows how to, buy time with his feet or break the pocket when it's time to roll. So that they probably are going to have to spy him at some point, but we've seen over the last few weeks, they go straight forward, 4 down island rushing. And we saw yesterday, we saw them throwing different exotic blitzes. So I believe there's going to be a mix-up of different types of coverages and different types of blitzes because Russell Wilson is, so good. You're going to have to mix up your coverages with him because if you don't, he will either pick you apart or see when you do go to man, he will use his legs to exploit you. So it's definitely going to be a interesting game along with Scott Turner calling the plays, as Dujanay mentioned. If Haskins is the quarterback, it's going to be interesting to see if he tells the playbook towards him. We all know moving the pocket and getting him on a rollout is better for him, or is he going to have the same generic playbook that he has for Alex Smith, check down and take a shot every now and again? So it's definitely going to be interesting. But DC People's Champ, I know you wanted to chime in when we had Dujanay on the line. What you got to say about yesterday's win and this 4-game winning streak this Washington football team is on in sole possession of NFC East first place?
I will echo what Robbie said earlier, that when Haskins had that throw where he was flat-footed and sailed, I said in our group chat, I said, Haskins, this is the same BS that got you benched in the first place. What are you doing? But I am glad that he was able to manage the game well enough to keep them in the lead and to ultimately win the game. But the defense stepped up big time. I don't know how many times I kept saying Chase was on the case. I don't know how many times I said that. Chase was disruptive. Sweat was disruptive. Cameron Curl, that beautiful pick six. I mean, the defense managed to force, 3 turnovers and just absolutely have Nick Mullins out of sorts in that pocket. It was a great win. It was a great win over a team that even though their record doesn't show it, a lot of people had us pegged as losing, most likely. And to go have a 4-game winning streak, it really shows that this team is really starting to get that identity and starting to understand who they are and what they need to do. And from a fan's perspective, that's what I've been looking for from this team for the longest time, is know who you are and go out there and be that. And that's what they're doing. They're going out there as a scrappy defense and going out there and just absolutely just terrorizing offenses, making quarterbacks nervous and uncomfortable. And that's what they did with Nick Mullins. They made him uncomfortable. They made him make mistakes. They, forced 2 fumbles, including a fumble recovery for a touchdown. Got it, pick 6, and just absolutely just terrorized Nick Mullins the entire time. I really thought that, and even the announcers, when I was listening, even thought that his backup was going to come into the game at one point. He never did, but it was so disruptive. They thought that the backup was going to come in. So love the win, and can't wait to see what they do going forward.
No doubt, no doubt. Appreciate that synopsis from DC's People Champ. I know Dujanay, we done already had you on for an hour already. So what do you think about this upcoming matchup this next week? And let the folks know what you got coming out so you can get out of it. I know you probably got some work to put in some way or another interview.
I'm really interested. I'm really excited about this week. Seattle, they've been struggling on the offensive line, protecting Russell Wilson, my cousin. But he's that team's playing pretty well. Their defense is not what it used to be. So I think they have opportunities there. You have to love, for the Washington football team, J.D. McKissick, his shiftiness, whether it's running the football, whether it's catching the football out of the backfield, and that combination between him and Barber is really nice. I'd like to see them to pound it a little bit more and stick with it as much as they can, especially in those situations where you have short down and distance. But you don't have to always run it. They're not always the best behind the center and the guard. So you have to get creative, but when you do, they reward you for that. If they can do what they did this week, and then get a little bit of an offensive stand that they got for when they were playing Pittsburgh, they have a very good opportunity to win. They've been in a lot of close games this year. Now they're starting to win those close games, and they're starting to, put it on some people too. So I think this will be a close one. At first I was like, there's no way they beat Seattle. But the way you see this growth with this football team, the defense is really starting to dictate things, really forcing offensive coordinators to have to come up with something that is going to take away that front seven. And then you got guys like Curl making plays and back there. So there's a huge combination of huge things that offensive coordinators have to worry about. I really like Washington's chances. I don't want to predict a win for Washington football fans' sake, but I really think that they can win this football game, keep it close, and they can win this thing kind of like they did last week. Just grind it out, punch people in the mouth, don't turn the football over, get a few turnovers and a few critical, third down stops, and they can put themselves in an opportunity to win. And most importantly, these guys are at home. So I really like that. If they can do that, man, the next two games, two games are going to be, to me, a lot easier than this one coming up this week. Again, we're going to have the podcast coming up this week. Going to talk a little bit of Washington football. We're going to talk some Saints this week. If you missed last week's pod, it's a great one. I go off on Adam Gase and his ability to be able to fire Greg Williams, even though he's dumpster fire. I also took a shot at Jets fans. So if you didn't catch it.
I don't agree with the firing of Greg Williams, but go and cover 0 in that situation in the ball game with no wins on your record. There are certain things as a defensive coordinator with less than 10 seconds you just don't do. I know you want to get pressure, but cover 0? Really?
Go check.
To get fired, but
I'm gonna go off on your show. Go check. Go check the pod. I'm not gonna go off on your show. I get what you're saying, but this guy, come on, man. Go check the pod. I'm just going. All
right. I'm gonna go check it out, man. I've always hated cover 0. If you don't know what a cover 0 blitz is when there's no safety help and there's man-to-man coverage on the outside and everybody blitzes. It's a high risk, low reward with desperation grab. All the years of defensive coordinator coach, you know how many times I've called the cover 0 blitz? Never. Because I want at least one safety back there just in case, man. It's beautiful to get a blitz to, rock the quarterback's world, but a cover 0 with no coverage and you're dependent on your corners to hold coverage. And if they don't get home, oh my God, that's like wake up out of my I sleep in a cold sweat. Those are calls that I just would not make, man. But I'm not saying you should deserve to get fired for it. But as a veteran defensive coordinator, why would you take that gamble?
Because Adam Gase is already tanking the rest of the season. So it's like, okay, I'll gamble and put this game away or we're going to lose. And if we lose, hey, it's just part of the tanking you've been doing since you've been here.
I can't argue with that logic. Because Adam Gase is a tool and he will. He reminds me of Jay Gruden. He will sacrifice somebody else to try to save his skin for another week.
Jay.
Okay.
At least made an attempt to win. This dude ain't done nothing. I mean, it's the same guy that come out and gonna say, I didn't do anything to help Sam Darnold. And he admits that, and then he still keeps his job. And then the front office allows him to be the one that fires Greg Williams. Really, man? Come on, son. I don't want to hear Jets fans talking about no football team's front office. Your football team's front office is absolute trash.
No bull. All right. Dude, let the folks know where they can find you at. If you're checking out my feed, for some reason my Facebook live feed shut down. My YouTube is still going, Periscope's still going. But we're about to get into NBA and some boxing. So I'm going to shut it all down. Restart another feed. Dude, let the folks know where they can find you at. Robbie G, I know you and DC People's Champ going to talk some NBA. While y'all do that, I'm going to try to get everything set back up and get everything rocking and rolling. Technical difficulties before I tell you live on air and technology for some bad combination.
at NotBland21 on Twitter. You can talk to me there. I love talking shop with you guys. A lot of people do talk with me on Twitter, and I have a good time talking with you guys. Very knowledgeable people, especially the ones that listen to this show. You can catch me SportsOTHP.com. A lot of great stuff there for the Washington football team, and obviously the podcast, the breakdown. It's right there on the SportsOTHP page. They got a link there. I really appreciate that. I love hanging out with you guys. Football team, guys. It was a blast. You guys have a great show. Thank you so much.
Dujane, before you go, I wanted to come on early because I wanted to thank you for the pep talk that you gave me yesterday, because I was definitely feeling down and out after what happened on Saturday night. But you messaged me and gave me that pep talk, and I definitely appreciate it. And that's why Carol values you so much as a mentor. I appreciate it so much.
Problem, brother. It's a marathon, not a sprint, man. And you got a lot of good things working. That's why they have you on this network, brother. So just keep doing your thing. Keep plugging away. Keep chopping wood, man. It's all going to work out. And you see it for these guys. Robbie, Carol, they kept chopping wood, and look at where they are. Yeah, man, this is a big production now, man. It's a big production. They've had some big people on this show. And it's going to be the same way for you. You with the right people. And, hey, man, I'm just trying to boost people up, keep people going. That's what it's all about.
Well, I appreciate that most definitely. I do.
Thank you so much, Dujane. You know, you've been a big part of our network and a big part of a lot of our lives, and we really appreciate it greatly. Again, podcast partners button, sportsothp.com. Click on it, and you get to hear that rant. I look forward to it. I missed it myself, so I'll have to go back and check it out. But we really appreciate your time as always, and we look forward to having you on the next show. We'll probably not be next week because we're going to take the holiday Christmas week, the Monday off. I'm going to take a vacation, which is nice, and go with my wife somewhere as well. The in-laws watch my son, which I'm excited about, and then the week right before the 31st. So we'll recap 2 football games probably on that next one, and hopefully they'll both be victories. So, but thank you so much for your time as always.
Of course, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. We're gonna bring in Arun as well next, and have him join the round table. And let's see. I think he's gonna have to unmute himself and bring on his camera or his own camera. Back. Okay.
There he is.
There he is.
It's great to see your wonderful face.
I know we haven't seen Arun's face the last couple of weeks, so I had a special request. I was like, Arun, this week we're just gonna go 3 for the NBA roundtable, and we're gonna have you join us in a lovely tropical island, maybe. You know, and so what an awesome start for our brand new Wizards rookie. We're going to start it there to Denny Avdija. I know that people are pronouncing it different ways. That's how I'm going to do it. Had an incredible first game. I know it was just a warm-up, tune-up game, a preseason game, but he was able to go 6 for 6 from the field, and it was just really impressive. I'm going to try to put up some, share the screen and put up some stats real fast, see if that works. Let's see if that plays. Okay, so he was able in 24 minutes to put up 15 points, 4 rebounds, and he played really well. I thought Rui Hachimura also played well, had 18 points. Thomas Bryant, an efficient 10 points. We had some good guard play there, 17 and 14. So a lot of the young guys got to play. Wagner got 13, Bonga got 4. So it's just a well-rounded game. The Nets actually played their superstars. So if you notice, the Wizards were out without 2 legendary all-star guards in the mix. The Nets put everybody out there. So you get to see Kyrie and Kevin Durant. And they just had also, no one played a ridiculous number of minutes, but also sort of well-rounded according to points. But I was just really impressed with Denny in his first game. I'm going to start with Arun and get your take, and then I also want to get DC's People's Champs take as well. So, Arun, what were some of your takeaways from this first preseason, which was a loss, but we saw some really good things?
Yeah, for Advia, that was like about as impressive as a debut for a preseason game. I mean, it is preseason, as you mentioned, but overall, it's really encouraging given that Advia, his weakness coming into the league was apparently he's not a good three-point shooter. Well, he knocked down all of his threes, and he hit a buzzer beater at the end of the first half of 1 foot. And then, like, when they started crowding him for his three-point shot, then he ended up posting up and taking it to the rim, which is pretty good for such a young player at that age. And as you said, Rui played really well. He had a nice dunk on Durant. Durant got him back, of course, like with a couple blocks, but overall, it was encouraging. Game was, I believe, it was like a 1 point game with like 7.5 minutes, and they flashed to like Russell Westbrook, and he's smiling on the bench, and he's thinking if Beal and him are playing out there, then they can take this Nets team. Maybe, like, we'll see what happens. Like, obviously, not everyone's playing at 100%. The Wizards were down by 26 points in the first half, but overall, it's encouraging that the Wizards should play well for the most part, especially their young guys.
Yeah, I just wanted to let me see if this tab works. But I was really happy to see like the Times of Israel, the Jerusalem Post, Yahoo Sports, everyone talking about this guy. It's bringing incredible exposure for the team to a country, in Jerusalem that they probably never would have, cared about the Washington Wizards. And I thought it was really cool that this first really exciting game where he was perfect from the field was on a night of Hanukkah, right? As a Jewish person, I thought that was really kind of a neat thing. It'll always kind of be intertwined to me as his first kind of game as a Wizard. I know it's not a regular season game, but I just thought that was really cool. I just was really happy that all the articles were, talking about him and giving him a lot of love, and it was just a really nice thing to see. I'm gonna get People's Champ. What were some of your thoughts on this game?
From the little bit that I was able to see, because I was recording my New Japan podcast that went up today during the game, but from the little bit that I saw, can you imagine if Beal and Westbrook were in at the backcourt with Denny playing the three, Rui playing the four, and Bryant in the middle? How much better this team could have been against these superstars like Kyrie and not like Kyrie and KD. I think that it would have been a much different result because it would have been a lot better defensively, and they would have been scoring a lot more with those two on the floor. Having said that, the fact that, and I hate to steal your swag, Arun, but 8 players were in double digits in points in this game, and the fact that they went in the half down 18 and then outscored them and had margin in the second half by 13. The score shows that it was a close score, a close finish, but the Nets, because they had they, like you said, Robbie, they put everybody out there for the first preseason game, and that this young Wizards team was able to bring it back to a respectable score. So that tells me right there that this team is remaining with that identity of being a scrappy bunch, that they're not going to just give up. They're not going to be like, oh, we're down 20 plus, let's just rein it in and get ready for the next game. No, they're down 20 plus. No, we're going to fight. We're going to win this game somehow. And that's the identity of this Wizards team, especially with these young players. And then once you get Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal in that backcourt, along with this young front court, this team is going to be something to look at on this season. I can guarantee it.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree. It's really exciting. So let's take a quick look at the schedule ahead now. So there's a game on Thursday, and there's a game on Saturday, and then there's a game the following Wednesday, and then they start the regular season. So I thought we could just really quickly go through them and get your take. It's only 2 teams we're really going to break down because it's the Pistons playing both of the games in Washington, one on Thursday, one on Saturday, both at 7 o'clock. So we'll start there. What can you expect from that next preseason pair of games? I'll start with you, Arun.
Yeah, the Pistons, they're like a weird team. They're kind of, I don't know if they're rebuilding. They've restocked. They drafted a French point guard and number 7, but they also made one of the bigger free agent signings by giving Jeremy Grant $20 million a year. They have Blake Griffin. They just came off 2 games against the Knicks. They lost to the Knicks, but then they beat the Knicks. And I don't know, like, I'm sorry, Brian, but the Knicks aren't that good, so it's hard to make anything from that win from the Pistons. The Wizards should be better than the Pistons this season, but it's preseason, so it doesn't really matter. We might not even see Beal or Westbrook or even Bertans and Ish Smith. They didn't play in the last game, so we'll see what happens going forward.
Yeah. I want to get People's Champ, your take on playing the Pistons as the next 2 games for this week.
Well, I know that like these next 2 games are the final 2 preseason games, and the season starts proper on the 23rd. But I gotta disagree with Arun. I think we see Westbrook and Beal in one of these 2 games because they want to get their game reps in before the season starts proper in Philadelphia on Wednesday the 23rd. So I think one of these 2 games, if it's not Thursday, I guarantee Saturday we will see Westbrook and Beal start in the backcourt to get those game reps along with Hachimura, along with Denny, along with Thomas Bryant, to see that true starting 5 and see how they can gel together before the season starts. I think that if you get that, I think we can take either one of these 2 games or both. I think we take both because even without Westbrook and Beal, these young guys that they have can score. If they can play some level of defense against a team like the Pistons, I think they can take both, and especially if they get Westbrook and Beal, in there to play on one of these 2 games. So I think that they'll appear in one of these 2 games. I think they'll take both of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think you make a great point because there's, most teams had, 4 preseason games, or some did, and they're only getting 3, and it will go pretty quickly from Saturday to Wednesday into that 76ers game. So I think you got to see a little bit. You have to sort of see what they can do with it. So, by the way,
did you see the article? Robbie, did you see the article that I posted on our
yes, I did. I was trying to figure out how we're going to get that in there. It's going to be really interesting because this is another situation where there's kind of back-to-back games. It's going to be the article states that the coach doesn't think that the Westbrook is going to be playing in back-to-back games. And I don't know if that's necessarily – it'll be interesting because I thought the league said they were going to crack down on that. But I don't know if that's just crack down on it when you're playing out of market or on national TV, or if they still want superstars playing both games. Arun, do you have any sense on that?
Since the Wizards don't have any national TV games, like other than NBA TV, it's not really going to matter for them. And I think as far as it's an injury concern, but they're not really going to care that much. But obviously, if the Wizards end up being good enough, then the Wizards are probably going to have to play Westbrook during those national TV games instead of like maybe you'll have the first night off and then they'll play the second night. They might find it strategically. As far as like the Wizards go, they seem to have good point guard depth. They have Ish Smith and Raul Neto, who had double figures, and they drafted Cassius Winston in the second round. He looks like, I don't know like how he's going to actually get any minutes if Westbrook plays, but he looks like he could actually maybe get into like a rotation down the line if he develops. So it's probably not going to penalize the Wizards just because they really only care if it's like a national TV deal, and the Wizards don't have any at this point.
Interesting. So it is what I was saying, where they're only going to get penalized for the national TV game. So I think, what are your thoughts, DC's People Champ, on this? It is a really interesting story. I had not heard it, so I appreciate you bringing it to my attention.
I think it's an interesting strategy, and Scott Brooks elaborated on that as I read an article, and he said that, listen, Russell Westbrook is not a spring chicken. Like, he's up there in age, and he's been in the league a long time, so you don't want to exhaust and risk injury to him because he hasn't had a lot of major injuries, though. He's had a couple surgeries on his right knee. So I get the logic behind Brooks' strategy of when they have back-to-backs, resting him for one of those 2 games. And then the way that the schedule is set up because of COVID-19, there are going to be a lot of back-to-back games taking place because they don't want these teams to have to travel so much because of COVID-19. So the strategy is very sound. You want to have your coveted player, your point guard, to have plenty of rest, to be very effective throughout the season. And then to Arun's point, you may end up having national TV games in the second half of the season, because remember, the NBA has only released the first half of the schedule. We don't know what's going to happen in the second half of the schedule. This team can go out and just be world beaters and be at the top of the East, and all of a sudden the league's like, we want them on national TV. And then next thing you know, we're on national TV, and then you got to figure out, okay, this game is now on national TV. We'll rest him here because we're on national TV on the next night, and then he can play there. So I think it's very sound by Scott Brooks. He understands the situation. He understands what the schedule's like. And then as guard play goes, he can even most likely do that for Beal, because he's got good guards behind him, like Garrison Matthews, who impressed the hell out of me in the game Sunday night. Even though he was 3 of 6, he still was impressive. So he would make a good backup for Beal. So very sound strategy by Scott Brooks.
Interesting. All right, we got Carroll with a scoring update. We're going to bring him in now.
All right, if you were checking out the Monday Night Football game, Baltimore versus Cleveland, Baltimore came out after halftime and scored a touchdown. Lamar Jackson threw the Edwards, the tight end, for a touchdown, making it 28-14. Then Cleveland just answered with the scoring drive later on. Kareem Hunt with a 5-yard run. Unfortunately, the kick after failed. So Baltimore is up 28-20. This is a interesting game because Lamar Jackson is 5 for 8 for 74 yards with 4 sacks at quarterback, but he has 9 rushes for 124 yards and 2 touchdowns. And I believe I saw a stat. This is the 38th game in a row that Baltimore had over 100 yards rushing. They had that in the first half. So I took Cleveland in this game, but Lamar Jackson is doing it with his legs because Cleveland is definitely getting some pressure on him in the pocket, and they're taking away their wide receivers. So he's ad-libbing and keeping Baltimore up by 8 right now, and driving the ball. It was a 3rd and 7, and I believe they just they did get the first down, but then they had a penalty on the first play of the next series, and now they're 1st and 15. So it's an interesting game. AFC North, we know Pittsburgh lost 2 in a row. Cleveland sitting at 9-3. Baltimore sitting at 7-5, fighting for their playoff lives. They need this win. Cleveland wants to keep their momentum going. So, yeah, I'll give you more updates if anything else happens.
Sounds good.
Can we talk about how funny it is that the Cowboys got flexed out of Sunday Night Football this week for the Cleveland Browns?
Yes,
we're talking basketball. This funny as shit.
That is funny, but the other thing is the Steelers are rooting for the Ravens in this game because the Browns are right on their tails. So how odd is that, right? The Steelers, probably, if they have the tiebreaker, they'd be rooting, in this game, against the Browns. So I thought that's kind of a super strange, bizarro world. But I'm happy that I live in a world where the Washington football team, beat the Cowboys twice and the Steelers. I can't believe it. And there's a chance if they win these last 3 games, they could all go all the way back and get to Carroll's prediction of 9 wins, which is crazy because no one 5 weeks ago thought any team could be above 500 or maybe even at 500. And
I predicted 8-8. It's still there. 8-8 still there.
I'm number 415 in the world in Pick'em, Robbie.
I know.
Get it off, Carol.
Get it, and I didn't think it was going to happen either, but I'm riding for my 9-7, Robbie. I'm riding for my 9-7.
I mean, it's amazing. I mean, they already hit the 6 wins that I was expecting. Oh, just overthrew them. That would have been a nice one if they had gotten that. The Ravens are up 28-20, but it's a 4th down. It looks like they're going to have to probably kick it here and rely on their defense. But thank you, Carol. We'll bring you in if there's any other scoring updates. I'm going to go back to the Wizards schedule because let's just talk about that 76ers game. It's the first game back on Wednesday, the 23rd. We'll start off with the DC's People's Champ. What is your take on playing the 76ers as an early litmus test for the Wizards?
Definitely an early litmus test because you have in the middle of the court, you have the matchup between the young Thomas Bryant and the wonder kid known as Joel Embiid. So you definitely going to have to look at that matchup to see who comes out on top of that one. But this is going to be the game where even if Arun's prediction comes true that Westbrook and Beal do not play these preseason games, they will definitely be in for this regular season opener. And I think that the 76ers team, I don't think they have the defense and the team to be able to stop this starting five that we are bringing to them with that backcourt of Westbrook and Beal, that front court with Hachimura, with Denny, with Thomas Bryant. So I'm going to predict right here, right now, that we win that very first regular season game, and it begins to show that this team is something that you should be watching as the season progresses.
Yeah, for sure. Arun, what is your take on the 76ers?
Yeah, I think Beal and Westbrook will play in the preseason, by the way, just not like a lot of minutes or anything. But in the bubble, the Wizards actually almost beat the 76ers, but they're also, I mean, it's a largely different team for the 76ers. They got Daryl Morey to make some moves, and they acquired more shooting with Steph Curry's brother and Danny Green. But I still think, I agree with Ken, I think Washington actually does come away with the win. There is actually an interesting rivalry between Joel Embiid and Russell Westbrook. They've been jawing back and forth with each other with their past, especially when Westbrook was with OKC. So I think that's an interesting dynamic to look forward to if Russell Westbrook's going to try to dunk over Embiid, or vice versa if Embiid's going to do a little dirty action to Westbrook, shoving him down, and we'll see what happens. Obviously, Beal will be the key piece. He averaged 36 points per game after that All-Star stud, so hopefully he can keep it going.
Yeah. All right, and then the last part of it, the equation, I guess, because we're coming back on the 28th, so we'll have that 76ers game to recap. Probably won't talk much about the preseason, and then we'll have this other matchup, which is the Magic are playing at the Wizards. It's two games back-to-back. It's the first one of those ones we were talking about. So Saturday and Sunday, both in Washington, both at 7 o'clock. That'll be a really interesting weekend. Arun, I'll start with you. What are your initial take on the Magic this season?
The Magic, they're coming off of being the 8th seed. They actually took a couple games off the Milwaukee Bucks. Not many people predicted that, but this is one of the teams in the division that Washington is going to have to beat. I believe last year, Orlando, I think they had the Wizards number, but especially in the regular season, I think this is why Westbrook is a good player. He plays really hard in the regular season. These are not although Westbrook will only play in one of these games, so that'll be something to look forward to, and we'll see how that works out. But these are two very winnable games for the Wizards, especially if they want to make a playoff run. And I'm looking at their schedule that you have up here, and it's pretty early on. The Wizards could go. They should get off to a really good start because not many of their opponents are going to be projected to be above 500. So let's see how that works out.
So the Browns were just intercepted by the Ravens, and they ran it back, and it was almost a touchdown, but they got him down at the 1 yard line. They're reviewing the goal line right now. Yeah, he's just short. They'll get it first down on the 1 yard line from the goal. So I'll let Carol break in with whatever scoring news that will hopefully bring. Again, it's 28-20 with 4:24 left in the third. Baker Mayfield's first interception in the last 187 pass attempts ends, I think it was the second longest streak. So we'll see what happens there. But some exciting stuff for sure. That was really easy. But I'll let Carol. Carol, are you watching this? You want to break it down?
Sorry, Robbie. I was actually taking care of some personal business right now. I just saw the play after you were breaking it down.
Yeah.
Like J.K. Dobbins getting in from a 1 yard run for a touchdown. They're about to make it 35-20. Unfortunately, the Cleveland Browns are still the Cleveland Browns against the Baltimore Ravens for some reason. Last week we saw them balling out against Tennessee, made them look foolish, and this week they're looking like the old Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, the Ravens have their number. This happens sometimes with certain rivalries. It's kind of like what we were talking a little bit about before with the Giants, how it doesn't seem, block the kick. Anyway, so I guess it's not So it's 34-20, so it's a 14-point game. Yeah. So anyway, but that's what a weird thing. It's kind of like it's interesting that the Giants are kind of our team. They're kind of like this game is for Cleveland. So, but so I can commiserate in some ways, but I'm kind of happy, even if I kind of like Baker Mayfield, but not tonight. So, but we'll get more scoring updates. But I guess we're almost done. But I did want to get Champ, your thoughts on the Magic real quick.
Sorry, I was looking at our group chat and Tim just said, "Don't throw that ish near Bowser's Castle."
Nice.
Don't throw that near Bowser's Castle. I love it. Tim, you're awesome. But the Magic scare me. The Magic scare me because it's the same lineup they had when they absolutely owned the Wizards during the season that just passed, including in the bubble. And so this game scares me. But at the same time, we have different pieces now. And when I think about it, and I said it during earlier on about the starting five, I think that the starting five may not be Denny. I think that it may be Rui and Thomas with Davis Bertans on the front, because remember, Davis just signed that really big contract. So I'm assuming he's going to be the starter, and they're sitting him out to rest him. So if you have Bertans in there as part of that front court with that back court, the Magic don't scare me that much. I think that, and I'm going to go out on a limb here, I think that they take two from the Magic to get that early advantage in the East, along with getting that victory over the 76ers. I think that this team starts 3-0. I really think this team starts 3-0 and really lets the world know, pay attention to us.
It would be really interesting. It'll be interesting to see which games Westbrook plays of the back-to-back, whether they choose to rest him in the middle game, which I would assume. So it'll be the Saturday game. Maybe play the Sunday one. It'll be interesting. And then the following week, we're going to have to play the Bulls 2 games, both in Washington as well. And then we're going to go on a road swing. So a lot we're going to be definitely breaking down, the 76ers and the 2 Magic games. And then we'll preview the 2 Bulls games, the Timberwolves game, and I think one more. Let me just see here.
Brooklyn.
Yeah, is that going to be before? No, yeah, the Timberwolves, but is Brooklyn before? Yeah, Brooklyn's also before that next show too. So yeah, we'll have 4 games that following week. So yeah, they're going to try to pack them in this season. They're doing a much longer season than hockey. They've sort of come out that hockey's probably going to start mid-January, and they're going to have a much shorter season, only in the 50s, where in basketball. I believe it was 70-something games. Is that right? Or what was the number, Arun? Do you know?
75 games.
75. So they really only took 7 games off the schedule, which is a lot less, versus in hockey, I think it was maybe 53 it was. So, that's a significant cut in games, almost 30 games, So it'll be interesting to see how usually the seasons mirror each other so much. It'll be interesting to see how that fluctuates when we bring back our Capitals talks. I have to say sorry to our our other Capital correspondent. I know she's a big 49ers fan and she was pretty disappointed in her team. But they still put a valiant effort out there. But it was unfortunately for Anna Knox, it was not going to be the 49ers day. But it was exciting. I'm going to get each of your quick takes on the upcoming 2 weeks, and we're going to bring Carol back in as well. But I'll start off with Arun. What are your thoughts on both Carolina and obviously next week with Seattle? Do you think they split them, or do you think they lose both, or do you think they win both? What do you see with the Washington football team?
Yeah, I think it would be more winnable if like Alex Smith were to come back. Then I would say, like, especially against Seattle and Carolina, and I think Carolina, that's more like I had that as a win. So like, and I had really low win total because I figure Ron Rivera wants to get revenge on his old team. Antonio Gibson being out, like if he comes back, I think he's probably still going to be out. So that's going to be tough. Seattle, as Duchesne pointed out, they've been pretty down, like up and down. Like recently, they did a nice win, but as he pointed out, they lost to the Giants. So I think Washington's defense, they're good enough to carry the offense to a win. Chase Young is that special defensive player that Washington hasn't had since Sean Taylor. So we'll see if that can happen against Seattle. I don't think it's going to happen against Seattle, but I've been wrong before, and we'll see what happens.
Now I gotta troll Arun because Arun had us going 2-14 this year. How you feel now, son?
Well, I was assuming Dwayne Haskins was a starting quarterback. I didn't assume Alex Smith was going to come back and be serviceable. We saw what Dwayne Haskins was doing at the end of the game, trying to throw that game away. So
and you might be right. Haskins may have only won 2 games this season for us. You might not have been wrong with that assessment. But I am happy that
I'm happy I'm wrong too. I'm also maybe next year I'll also I think this is the most pessimistic I've been. So I'm yeah, this is working out pretty well for me. I've been 6 wins. Last year was 4. So it's oh, maybe they're trending down. It can't be. And if they disappoint me, then it works out.
Hey, I mean, I believe in that idea to bet against your team. I've been doing it the last 4 weeks and it's worked. So I understand that logic. People's Champ, those next 2 games, real quick thoughts on Seattle and then the Panthers.
Seattle is going to be the tough one, and y'all said it earlier on in the Washington football team segment. Russell Wilson is going to be one of the key factors in this game. The other one is going to definitely be DK Metcalf, because DK Metcalf is having a hell of a season at wide receiver. But if this team can be as disruptive as they were against San Francisco, as disruptive and as timely as they were against the Steelers, I think they can take this game. But in our pick'em, I did pick Seattle because Seattle is definitely a much better team. They know what to do when it comes to both offense, defense, but our offense has been a bit of a struggle. So I had to go with Seattle, but I feel like this is, as Dujane said earlier on, this is a winnable game. They just have to get off of that whole thing of not scoring in their first possession. They haven't scored in their first possession all season. They need to get out of the gates fast. They need to get out of the gates fast and score on that first possession. Even if it's a field goal, score something and make Seattle think about it wait, we're in this team's house and they just scored on us on their first possession. What do we need to do to keep it together and keep pace with them? So the key to them winning, score in the first possession. Make them think about, wait, this is not the same team we dealt with before. We need to think about this. So I picked Seattle, yes, but I would be happy to be wrong if they're able to go out and score in the first possession and make Seattle think about it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Carol, what is your take on the next 2 games?
The Seattle game is definitely going to be their biggest test of the last games of the season. Not along with DK Metcalf. You have Tyler Lockett. I have DK Metcalf for my fantasy football team, so I know what he's done all season. He's only been shut down 1 game. He's been putting up good numbers, 100 yards, touchdowns, almost every other game that he didn't get shut down in. So it's going to be interesting to see how this front 7 works, and if they can get pressure on Russell Wilson and keep him in the pocket, and let these cornerbacks do what we've seen them do when they get pressure. They can definitely beat Seattle. Starting fast, I'm not really too concerned about starting fast at this point because we've seen this team be able to come back in the second half and make adjustments, which we are not used to. But the adjustments that they've been making, going back to week 1 against the Eagles when they were down by 17, or I think it was more than that. I can't remember so long ago. But I know they were down and they came back after they made their adjustments. So starting fast would definitely be a plus because, as I mentioned earlier, Scott Turner definitely does call a better game when he has a lead. But the way this defense is playing, the way this team has been playing, and, finding ways to win, finding ways to come back, finding ways to swing the momentum back, even in special teams, they haven't scored a touchdown, which I would love to see, but you saw Sims make a play, return the punt, 22 yards to change the swing the field position. So all 3 phases of the team are playing well, And right now at this point, I don't see any lead that they're giving up in the first half that they won't be able to come back from. I mean, we saw them come back from, big against the Eagles in the first week with Haskins at quarterback. We've seen Alex Smith take control of this team and this offense and make it look, like an NFL offense. We've seen them getting other wide receivers involved in the game. We've seen them force some to McLaurin trying to get him in the game, but they've been bracketing him. We've seen Logan Thomas, I mentioned earlier, making some plays in the receiving game and in the passing game with the wildcat that they use with him. He's got a couple of first downs on fourth down and throwing a couple of passes with ex-quarterback. So I don't really see a flaw in this team besides starting fast. If they start fast and actually score points on their first possession, as DC's people chance that they had in all season, if they can do that, then that makes this team very scary. And as Coach Rivera said, nobody wants to play us right now because even though they're getting slow starts, they're playing good football in all three phases of the game. And I dare to say the ball is bouncing the way of the Washington football team right now.
Yeah. So
Bobby, real quick, sorry, I forgot to mention about my thoughts on Carolina. This is gonna be really quick. Teddy Bridgewater does not scare me as much as Russell Wilson scares me. That's why I didn't really mention it. I think we can beat Carolina, but Seattle is the team that I'm more concerned about than Carolina.
Yeah. I kind of thought that when you didn't mention them that you were talking about the one that you were more worried about. So thank you for clarifying. So interesting call. The Ravens had too many people on the field, which they challenged, and the Browns won that challenge. I was so curious because I thought it was a pass interference call. Like you can't challenge that, but you can challenge too many people on the field, and so now it's 1st and 5. And they're about to, the Browns ended the third quarter on a really nice run for a first down. They're still down 14 points. It'll be interesting to see how this game turns out. But I hope they're able to, do some damage to Seattle. Seattle does scare me a lot. I think they can put up some numbers on our secondary. So I think we're going to have to keep pace. I definitely think if we have Alex Smith, we have a chance to win. I know that you said that no lead is too big that can overcome stuff. And I know Haskins did overcome a lead, to the Eagles in game 1, but I don't know if you could to a high-powered offense like Seattle. I think, maybe they could, but I wouldn't want to put him in that position. I think if we're from behind, I definitely think we have a much better chance with Alex Smith getting, to the lead. But that's sort of my quick take on it. But hopefully we get both wins. I will I'll pick against us and root for us in both of them to keep the streak alive. But I'm going to let each of our two guests get their final thoughts real quick, Carol, and then we'll get our final take as well. Rune, thank you for joining us. It was nice to see your face in a wonderful beach tropical something background, and let people know where they can follow you for your picks on Twitter, and any final thoughts that you want to give about anything.
Yeah, you can follow my picks on earnthinks.blogspot.com. I was just thinking about the other former Washington players. Cole McCoy, Alfred Morris had 2 rushing touchdowns against Seattle. So anything is possible. Shout out to my mom, I guess. Carol mentioned my mom again.
I still feel bad about losing to your mom last year. I'm determined. I lost to somebody's mom in the pickup, man.
I mean, she's not in this pickup, so maybe there's like a world where she's like in the top 300. That would be pretty disappointing for me too. So I don't know.
Technically, we all lost to Arun's mom, so don't feel too bad.
I take it personal, man. I played. I lost to somebody's mom. I could look myself in the mirror for a whole off season, man.
I mean, where do you think Arun gets all of his sports knowledge from?
That's cool. Be him, not supposed to be me.
Yeah, and then I guess my final thought is Robin Lopez. You better pick it up. 0 points. 0 points, 2 rebounds, 3 turnovers. Are you going to become the next Jason Smith or Jan Mahimi? So pick it up.
Oh,
next
God.
days.
Nice. And I thought you were mentioning that we haven't had an RG3 sighting yet because he's still on IR.
There's not much to say about RG3 at this point. When I'm on video, these only come when I'm a voice. Like keep a straight face. I'm pretty much like.
After that last breakdown, there's really much nothing else could be said about him. He pretty much did his whole life story in that last clip last time.
That's true. That's true.
Oh, well, he has overcome again, I guess, from this IR. I haven't followed his tweets lately, but probably tweeting about God and overcoming the odds and shutting down the haters.
that's probably true.
All right. Nicola has got the most coaches fired.
That's true.
Working on Harbaugh.
That'd be pretty fun. Well, Arun, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you again in 2 weeks when we bring back the Wizard season.
All right. Thanks for having me on.
All right, Arun, take it easy, man. Happy holidays, brother.
You too.
All right, DC's People's Champ. Let people know what's. I'm sure there's a ton of wrestling that you're going to break down this week. You said you broke down a podcast already today. What's on tap for the rest of the week for the No Spots?
All right. Well, this is a Sports on the Hill podcast exclusive. I haven't even told my podcast co-host this yet, but we are taking 2 weeks off after this week's pod for the holidays, and we're going to revamp. So that's happening. But this week we are going to be previewing WWE TLC, which is coming up this Sunday on the WWE Network. Again, we put out a podcast today recapping World Tag League and Best of Super Juniors final. And anybody who's a wrestling fan who's watching this right now, go, if you can, and find it somewhere and watch that Best of Super Juniors final between Hiromu Takahashi and El Desperado. My God, that is what you call a classic wrestling match. Go watch it. But we will be breaking down, we will be talking about TLC and, of course, what happened this week with the go-home shows for Raw and SmackDown for TLC, as well as NXT, AEW Dark, all that. We got all that coming for you as well. And then Impact had their final pay-per-view of the year this past Saturday, so we'll talk about that as well. So that's all coming up this week.
I got one quick question for you on all the wrestling. Do they take any? I know that they don't take very many vacations, and there's not very much off time in wrestling. Is there a little bit of a lull for Christmas, New Year's, or do they still make them work even then?
I am so glad you asked me that question. Yes, because Christmas falls on a Friday, there will be no SmackDown. I think they will actually take SmackDown and air it on Fox on Christmas, but they will not actually be wrestling on Christmas. I think that the athletes the wrestlers will have Christmas off, and then they'll be back at it live starting on that Monday. So normally what they do for Christmas, sometimes they'll be live. Most times they'll take shows ahead of time to air for Christmas if it falls on a Monday or something like that, or whatever day that SmackDown is. But this year, because it falls on a Friday, I believe that they will tape it ahead of time so that the wrestlers that are on the SmackDown brand will have that night off to be with their families and things like that for Christmas. But typically, the Christmas holiday, the Christmas and New Year's, they typically tape their shows ahead of time so that the athletes can have that time off. So yeah, that's looks like what the plan is going to be.
But there's still recordings on each of those weeks. Like you can still watch SmackDown and Raw the weeks around the holidays, and they're new episodes. Yeah.
Correct. Yes. They tape them ahead of time, and then they air on those days, but they're not live. So again, the athletes are basically at home with their families and enjoying the holidays and things of that nature. So yeah,
that's a cool in between, because I didn't know. I know some sports do play on Christmas and some sports don't. And it's obviously very different sport to sport. So that's interesting. Awesome. Thank you for that breakdown, and we look forward to in a couple of weeks having you back on. We'll talk about the early Wizard season when we reconvene in about 2 weeks.
Oh, thank you for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, decent people, champ. Holler at you later on, man. Happy holidays, brother.
Yeah, if anybody wants to check out No
Happy holidays,
Spots,
guys.
Happy holidays. And they want to check out No Spots Against the Power. Check out SportsOTHP.com. Click the podcast partner link. And both, if you want to hear Dujanay's podcast or People's Champ, they were both on tonight. You can check both of them out on that as well. So I appreciate all of them and Arun for joining us. It wasn't the full Wizards Roundtable, but it gave us a time to kind of preview the season a little bit, which we were originally going to have a little boxing stuff, but I know that didn't happen. I know there's a scoring update, but I'm trying to stall. But Carol, what just happened in that latest one with the Browns?
We just had a score by the Cleveland Browns to make the game 34-27. Baker Mayfield bought some time with his feet. The cornerback and the wide receiver for Cleveland, Higgins, who scored, feet got tangled up. The Baltimore Ravens defender fell down, and Higgins was wide open after Baker Mayfield bought some time. And it's now a one-possession game with around 14 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Y'all know how division games are. It's going to come down to the last possession most definitely. And Cleveland looking to get this Baltimore Ravens monkey off their back.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not. Let's go Ravens. Real quickly, I wanted to give a little update. It's people who are watching live and not listening. They'll notice I'm actually rocking the new Capitol threads I talked about. They have gotten restocks in person. So if you are down near Capital One Arena, the store there has them. I know it's a hot seller, the number one seller on NHL.com and on all the retail websites. You can't buy them online. So if you're looking for a last minute thing and you happen to live in the Washington, D.C. area, which I know a lot of our listeners actually listen from all over, but if you do live near or around D.C., they do have some sizes available with some Tom Wilsons and some Ovechkins and some Backstroms in stock and stuff like that. So hurry down there. I want to thank my parents again for the birthday present. I also want to thank all the shout outs. It was really cool. Not always you get a Super Bowl MVP giving you a birthday shout out. I really love everybody for liking that and sharing that. And I really appreciate all the love and support last week for my birthday. I had a great birthday week. And it was bookended by two amazing Washington football team victories. Usually I'll get 1 week or the other that I have to choose. But the fact that we have a 4-game win streak and it was over my birthday, and my birthday didn't, take some of that luck away. Was really awesome. But anyway, if people want to check out that birthday wishes video, facebook.com/SportsOTHP. If they want to see more about what I was talking about, it was really nice of him. And it's just an incredible week. I'm really happy. I thank my friends for doing a video game party with me this past weekend. That was really cool of them. And it's just been really, it sucks. Usually around my birthday, I get to see you, Carol. I usually get to see a lot of my friends in person, but the virtual thing and being able to do this Zoom every Monday night with you has always been special. And I really appreciate it. And I'm thankful. And it's a time of giving. I hope people find a way to give back to their friends, check in on your loved ones. Try to do a Zoom party, try to, check on everybody that you love and tell them that you love them. Holidays can be a tough time for people, especially when everyone's remote. And I know that Christmas is coming up soon. Happy Hanukkah to those celebrating. It is the 5th night of Hanukkah tonight. My son has really been loving Hanukkah. This is his first year really celebrating. So happy Hanukkah to those celebrating. Merry Christmas to those who celebrate that as well. He is one of the lucky kids that gets to celebrate both. And we look forward to having family and just together a simple Christmas. But I hope that you have a Merry Christmas, Carol. I really appreciate this podcast. And this has been a crazy 5th season trying to talk about this COVID seasons here. I hope that you're right and the Washington football team makes a miraculous win. That would be so 2020 of them to do this. It would be quite amazing. We've had a champion each of the last 2 seasons, I'll remind people. District of Champions merch, 2018 Capitals, 2019 Mystics and Nationals. I know that we didn't have any in 2020, but it would be the 2020-21 season for the Washington football team. They usually call it the 2020 season because the season's in 2020 for the most part. But hopefully that happens. That would be really exciting. We'll have a lot to cover. In January, I mentioned hockey's coming back. It'll be interesting to see. We'll talk about in the upcoming weeks the order of the show, whether we'll have hockey, basketball, football, what we'll do first, what our time will be. So stay tuned to facebook.com/SportsOTHP for all the schedule for the upcoming shows after Christmas. But Carol, that's all I've got, but I'll let you sort of take it away with any final thoughts you have.
Well, if you were watching the Monday Night Football game, it's not 34-27. It's 34-28 because Cleveland went for the 2-point conversion. Baker Mayfield went for a short pass to Kareem Hunt in the end zone. It bounced off of his hands and landed into the tight end's hand that was wide open in the back of the end zone. So it's now, 34-28 with 12:52 left in this classic division.
Oh,
Looked like the ball is starting to bounce Cleveland's way.
yes, and unfortunately, a great pass. It should have been brought in on a 3rd and 8. He's, just, oh my goodness, what a drop. It just goes right through his hands, and they're going to have to punt the ball back to Cleveland.
Pressure burst pipes, baby. Pressure burst pipes. That's what happens sometimes. So we're going to be continuing watching this game. Make sure you go check out SportsOTHP.com for all the shows archive, all of the podcast partners button. Click on and go check them out. Check out the SportsOTHP apparel line. Rocking a hoodie tonight. We got the District of Champions backdrop in the back. Robbie got the District of Champions pillow in the back.
I see you got the sticker on the back of your laptop, too. That's peeking out from behind. You can't see it from your angle, but I can see it.
Yeah, I always had it on. Always represent, no matter where I'm at. Always Sports OTHP. You know what it is. So go check it out. Go follow the YouTube channel, Carol Porter III with 3 eyes. There's IG, Carol Porter, Sports OTHP, Sports OTHP Apparel. Same thing on Twitter. Come check out. If you need a new ride, new, used, pre-owned, certified leases, come holler at me down at Waldorf Honda, 2450 Crane Highway, northbound side, across from Popeyes and Lowe's. You don't just have Hondas. I got, a variety, selection of any and everything that you're looking for. So come holler at me. I'll be going to work tomorrow. I'm supposed to take off, but I got a client coming in looking to make another deal tomorrow. So if you need that new ride, don't hesitate to hit me up.
It's like the Honda days, right? It's got all those.
Yeah, we got so many deals, incentives end of the year. We're trying to get cars off the lot. Like the 2021s coming in. We still got some 2020s on the lot. We got some of the 2021s in already. Sold a couple of Odyssey top of the lines this week. Sold a couple of Pilots top of the line this week. So come check it out if you're in the market for a new vehicle. Guarantee we can make that deal happen at the price that you want, the vehicle that you need. I'm going to end the show with my man Renegade Money Convo. And you know what it is, back-to-back combo of videos. Make sure you go check them out, go follow them. Got some big things coming up. Go follow them on Instagram, Renegade703, same thing on YouTube. Stay tuned for so much more. Taking a week off. Y'all be safe, be blessed, enjoy your family, stay clean, hopefully COVID-free. Enjoy your time away, enjoy your family. Appreciate all love and support. I got to say it's CP3 live from the lab. We about to be out. DC Sports Other Politics. It's not just a catchphrase. It's not just a motto. It's what we do. And we out.